sideways, across, up, down, forward, and backward. Spoke-like and arc-like movements, such as pointing, used for bridging space and creating boundaries in the horizontal dimension, vertical dimension, and sagittal dimension. Shaping in directions movement patterns create one-dimensional vectors for self-protection, structuring learning, and forming simple relationships. Sideways. Spoke-like or arc-like one-dimensional movement in the horizontal dimension that bridges the self to a person or thing to the right or the left side. The child in pink moves her arm sideways. Watch the clip again as the child uses a spoke-like movement to the right side. Across. Spoke-like or arc-like one-dimensional movement in the horizontal dimension that goes across the body, passing the midline in the front or back of the body. The child reaches with an arc-like across movement. Watch the clip again as the child moves across the midline with an arc-like movement. Up. Spoke-like or arc-like one-dimensional movement in the vertical dimension that bridges the self to a person or thing above. The child on the floor reaches up. Watch again as the child uses a spoke-like movement in the vertical direction of up. Down. Spoke-like or arc-like one-dimensional movement in the vertical dimension that bridges the self to a person or thing below. The child in gray moves down to pick up the ball. Watch again as the child uses a directional movement of down to pick up the ball. Forward. Spoke-like or arc-like one-dimensional movement in the sagittal dimension that forms a bridge from the self with a person or thing in the front. The children point to the book with forward movements. Watch again as the children point to the book with spoke-like forward movement. Following this is another example of forward. Backward. Spoke-like or arc-like one-dimensional movement in the sagittal dimension that bridges the self with a person or thing behind oneself. The child moves backward to sit on mom's lap. Watch again as the child moves backward. Here is another example of backward. Shaping in directions: sideways, across, up, down, forward, backward.